I never thought I'd be the type of person who needed home security cameras. I live in a quiet neighborhood, one of those places that advertises itself as safe, where the loudest thing you hear at night is a dog barking at raccoons. I moved in 2 years ago, right after my breakup, and the silence felt good. Healing. I work late, so I usually get home around midnight. I always take the same route, park in the same spot, and walk the same few feet from my driveway to my front door. It's my routine. Predictable. Maybe that's where it all went wrong. The first time something felt off was in December. I remember because it was freezing, and my breath fogged in the air as I walked to my front porch. I pulled out my keys, went to unlock the door, and froze. There were footprints, fresh ones. Not mine, not from a delivery driver. They started at the sidewalk and ended right at my door, perfectly centered, pointed directly toward it. What bothered me most was that they didn't lead away. They just stopped and vanished. I told myself maybe the wind had erased the rest, or maybe someone had walked backwards. People do weird things sometimes. I shook it off, but that night I locked my bedroom door, something I hadn't done since moving in. A few weeks later, I began noticing things inside the house. Small things, so small I questioned myself. A chair slightly pulled out, a kitchen towel folded differently than I remembered leaving it. My bedroom window cracked open even though I never touched it. I blamed myself. Stress, fatigue, absent-mindedness. But one night, when I walked into my living room, I felt it. That unmistakable sensation of being watched. The curtains were open. I never leave the curtains open. I shut them quickly, trying not to look outside, because part of me expected someone to be standing there. And although the glass reflected only my living room lights, I swear I felt eyes on me. The moment everything snapped into focus happened on a Friday. I had just come home, tossed my bag on the couch, and turned on the kitchen light. I opened my fridge, bent down to grab a drink, and when I straightened up, every hair on my body stood on end. In the window above my sink, the glass reflected something behind me. A face. Someone was outside, standing so close to the glass their forehead nearly touched it. I spun around in pure panic, but the window was empty. Whoever it was had ducked down or moved out of sight instantly. I rushed through the house, turning lights on, checking every lock twice, grabbing a kitchen knife with shaking hands. I barely slept. Every noise made me flinch. The next morning, I convinced myself it was a trick of the light, but deep down, I knew what I saw. That Monday, I bought security cameras, a full set, front porch, backyard, driveway, living room, and a small one facing the sliding back door. Installing them helped me breathe again, at least for a week. Then the notifications began. Motion detected, backyard, nothing. Motion detected, front door, nothing again. Then on the fourth night, person detected, backyard. My blood turned cold. I opened the video feed expecting a raccoon misclassified as a person, but no, there he was. A man standing completely still at the edge of my backyard, half in shadow, half in moonlight. His head was tilted slightly, like he was listening. He wasn't wearing a mask, just a hood pulled low. The worst part was that he knew exactly where the camera was. He looked straight into it. Not like he noticed it, like he already knew it was there. I called the police. They came, walked the perimeter, asked questions. I showed them the footage. Their response: since he didn't break in or make a threat, there's not much we can do. Probably just someone passing through. Passing through. At 2 a.m. in my fenced backyard. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. A few days later, I came home to find my front door unlocked. Not broken, not forced, just unlocked. I knew I had checked it multiple times before leaving. Inside, everything looked normal. Nothing stolen, nothing out of place, except one thing. On my kitchen counter was a single item that didn't belong to me. A Polaroid photo, face down. I stared at it for a long time before picking it up. When I finally turned it over, I felt my stomach twist. It was a picture of me, asleep. Taken from the end of my bed, I dropped it and backed away, grabbing my phone with shaking hands. I checked the camera history. Nothing. No alerts, no footage. It didn't make sense, unless he'd been inside before I installed the cameras. Unless he already had a key. I left the house and didn't come back until daylight. When the police showed up again, they were less concerned. No signs of entry. Could be a prank. Could be an old picture. Are you sure you didn't misplace this? I felt insane. I kept insisting someone had been inside, someone had been watching me. But without evidence, they shrugged it off. One officer gently suggested I stay with a friend. I didn't have many friends nearby, so I ignored it. I wish I hadn't. 2 nights later, I woke up to a soft creaking noise. At first, I thought it was the house settling, until I heard it again, a slow, deliberate footstep, then another, and another. My bedroom door was locked. My heart hammered so hard it felt like the bed shook. The footsteps moved closer and stopped right outside my door. I didn't breathe. I stared at the doorknob, waiting for it to twist. It didn't. Instead, someone leaned their full weight against the door. I heard the wood strain, and underneath that, I heard breathing. Slow, deep, inhale, exhale. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. As soon as I whispered to the operator, the breathing stopped. The footsteps retreated. The front door opened and closed. By the time police arrived, he was gone. This time they checked the cameras. All footage from 1:03 a.m. to 1:46 a.m. had been wiped, blacked out completely, except one camera, the one facing the sliding door. It had recorded audio only. At 1:12 a.m., a voice whispered, "You changed the locks." The officer asked if I recognized it. I didn't. I moved to a motel for a few days. When I came back with a police escort, everything seemed untouched. Too untouched, like someone had been careful not to disturb anything. We searched the whole house. When an officer opened the hall closet, he paused. Behind my coats, in a small space I never noticed, was a little 3-foot gap, big enough for someone to hide. Inside was a blanket, a half-eaten protein bar, a water bottle, several empty camera lens wipes, and worst of all, a notebook. Page after page filled with notes about me. When I left for work, when I showered, what I ate, how long I slept, when I was most vulnerable. The last entry was from the night I heard the footsteps. She knows I've been inside. She's scared now. She's perfect I had been living with him. Not metaphorically, literally. While I cooked, while I showered, while I slept. He was inches away. I moved out that same day. The police opened an investigation, but they never found him. No fingerprints, no footprints, no DNA. It's been 5 months. I live in a top-floor apartment now with cameras, security, neighbors, and a deadbolt built like a tank. But sometimes, late at night, I wake up with that same sensation that someone is leaning against my bedroom door, that soft sound of breathing on the other side. I tell myself it's in my head, that no one followed me, that I'm safe. But last week, when I got home from work, my blood ran cold. My bedroom window, the one I always keep locked, was open just a crack. On my pillow was a small folded piece of paper. Inside, written in messy handwriting, was just one sentence. I found you.